this is for the students who missed the Indian Removal Act notes on Tuesday, December the 1st, and for those who want to review the lesson. So I'll take you really briefly through the notes, and what you will have to do is make sure you fill out the guided notes located in our Google Classroom. So we're going to talk about the Indian Removal Act today. So some words you need to know are assimilate, and assimilate means to adopt or adapt to another culture. So what that means is that, let's say I went to Japan, and I'm a Latina, so I eat Hispanic food, I can speak Spanish, and let's say I move to Japan, and I live there for a little bit, and then maybe I'll start speaking more Japanese, start having more Japanese customs, start believing in the religion there, and just start really to adapt or adopt that culture. So that's what the word assimilate means, and let's see how that fits into the lesson. So, Mr. Thomas Jefferson, this guy right here, remember him? He was our third president. And he had a plan for the Native Americans. Jefferson believed that Native Americans should assimilate to white culture. And what does that mean? That means that all Native Americans should forget their native culture and to assimilate, to adopt or adapt to white culture. So that means Native Americans can no longer have long hair. They must cut it. They must change the way that they dress to dress more like white Americans, stop speaking the native language, and stop believing in their native religion, and start to assimilate to white culture. So, what did the policy of assimilation mean to many Native Americans? Well, we know that that means that they were more likely to leave their culture or forget their culture or be forced to forget their culture. So here are some challenges to assimilation. Not all Native Americans wanted to assimilate, and you can see in this picture how drastic the assimilation was. Many white settlers thought of Native Americans as inferior. Inferior means below them. They did not think very highly of Native Americans. Many Native Americans refused to assimilate. They did not want to change their way of life. So just really think about it. Think about someone coming into your house, you're chilling, the next thing you know, some random people come in and like, whoa, you have to change everything about you. You have to eat this type of food, you have to dress this way, you have to speak this way. Everything about you needs to change. So, there comes the 5 civilized tribes. The word civilized means to act normal or to have more of a normal society, according to Americans. But we definitely know that Native American tribes were far more civilized and way civilized long before Europeans came into the picture. But let's take a look at the 5 civilized tribes. White settlers called the Cherokee, Choctaw, Creek, Chickasaw, and Seminole the 5 civilized tribes because they assimilated. They really made an effort to assimilate because they wanted to protect their people. The Cherokee, one of the Native American tribes, in an effort to assimilate, they made a writing system and they wrote a constitution. So a constitution based on the U.S. Constitution. They did everything that they could to assimilate to white culture. They even started to farm cotton for clothing, and they even started to practice slavery, something that was really well known in the South. So check this out. Cherokee Nation versus Georgia. So this means this was a court case. Well, in 1828, Georgians, people from Georgia, they auctioned. They tried to sell Cherokee land because they found gold. So just again, imagine yourself in your house and some random person comes into your house and says that they're going to sell your house and not give you any money. The Cherokee protested just like you and I would protest, and we would get really mad. They protested and they sued, but they lost in court. Now, some important characters I want you to know. An important one in particular is going to be Mr. Andrew Jackson. Mr. Andrew Jackson, he was a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, to be quite honest, and he was not a very nice guy. He actually led the Indian Removal Act, and he believed strongly that Native Americans were in the way of American progress, that Native Americans needed to leave so that Americans can move westward. The Indian Removal Act of 1830. So remember, Andrew Jackson said he wanted all Native Americans to leave to make room for Americans. So in 1830, Congress passed the Indian Removal Act. And you can see here these red lines. These lines are how far Native Americans had to walk, not take an airplane, not take an Uber, had to walk all the way to Indian Territory. Natives were ordered to move west. Again, leaving their homes all the way to Indian Territory. So again, the Cherokee try their best to fight for their people and not have their land be taken away or forced to move. So in 1832, Cherokee sued again, and the court ruled in their favor. The court actually ruled that states could not impose their laws on Native Americans. What does that mean? So that means that the United States could not force Native Americans to obey American law. Progress. The U.S. government has to negotiate a treaty if they wanted the Cherokee to move. So instead of America just coming in and taking Cherokee land, the U.S. government pinky promised that they had to negotiate a treaty if they wanted the Cherokee to move. They couldn't just do it. They had to sign a treaty, which is a document that's kind of like a truce document or an agreement. So they ended up signing a treaty of New Echota. And in this treaty, U.S. traded Cherokee land for $5 million. But it wasn't with all the Cherokee. It was actually a select few Cherokee who wanted the money, but this treaty was not accepted by a majority of the Cherokee. So again, just imagine, let's say we're in a classroom, and one person wanted to eat sushi every single day. But you're like, no, I hate sushi. Or maybe you're like, oh, I'm allergic to sushi. Well, that wouldn't matter because that one student chose to eat sushi. So just kind of keep in mind that the Cherokee, even though a couple Cherokee agreed to this, not all Cherokee agreed to this. So the Cherokee began to be removed. In 1838, President Martin Van Buren ordered the U.S. Army to seize Cherokee resistors, to take them away. Anybody who resisted to move were taken to jail. Cherokee were forced to leave their homes. And again, just imagine you're playing your Xbox, you're eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and all of a sudden these random people come into your homes and tell you need to leave. And they were forced to march from Georgia to Indian Territory. A very, very far walk, which is now called the Trail of Tears. And this is the trail that they took on foot. And you can see all of these Cherokee natives crying, some dead or injured, men, women, children, elderly, everybody. 15,000 Cherokee are forced to walk more than 800 miles in 116 days. That's almost a full school year of walking. 800 miles. In harsh weather, in very cold winters and hot, hot summers. Many of them died from illness and starvation. They couldn't just go to Walgreens and go grab a bag of hot Cheetos or go to McDonald's and grab a Big Mac. And a lot of them were dying of sickness, of hypothermia or getting infections along the way. They had no medicine for that. More than 4,000 people died on that trail. A very sad, sad time in our history. So as time goes on and history has causes and effects, so now the Cherokee today, and they made that huge move from Cherokee land and they migrated to Indian Territory and began to go back home to their native land. The Cherokee Nation is the second largest Native American tribe today. So today we learned a little bit about Andrew Jackson, the Indian Removal Act, how the Cherokee fought for their land, how they sued to fight for their land, how they lost the first time, won the second time, but it still resulted in the very tragic Trail of Tears. So please take some time to use this presentation to fill out your guided notes and make sure you have those filled out because those will be due at the end of the week and I will grade those for you. Have a great day.